In today's episode of Biopilates Deep Dive, I explore an exercise that, beneath its apparent simplicity, contains all the science of conscious movement. It's called Straight Down. It's an exercise I love deeply because it reveals the truth of gesture, that space between stability and fluidity. Lying on the reformer in an imprinted position, legs in tabletop, arms in the straps, you inhale to lengthen and exhale to press down. That's all, and yet it's immense. At that precise moment, the body learns to breathe with gravity, to keep the pelvis stable, to let the shoulder blades glide downward without ever lifting, and to feel the continuity between the center and the extremities. Nothing is frozen, everything is coordinated. In Straight Down, lateralization plays a fundamental role. Each of us has a dominant side, stronger, more precise, and a stabilizing side, slower but deeper. The brain commands each hemisphere differently, and through the symmetry of movement, we learn to harmonize them. The exercise does not call for brute strength, but for fine attention, how to balance the two arms without one taking over, how to breathe evenly, how to send the same neural signal with equal intensity to the left and to the right. This work develops lateral awareness, proprioception, and interhemispheric coordination. It is an exercise that teaches the brain to communicate with gentleness. Beneath this apparent stillness, two precise muscles ensure the accuracy of movement, the anconeus and the extensor digitorum longus. The anconeus, a small triangular muscle located at the back of the elbow, originates on the posterior surface of the lateral epicondyle of the humerus and inserts on the upper part of the ulna. It works with the triceps to extend the elbow, but its most subtle function is to stabilize. It prevents hyperextension, absorbs tension, and guides the trajectory of the arm. It is innervated by the radial nerve, which allows it to receive fast, precise signals. During Straight Down, it prevents the elbow from locking. It acts as a moderator, maintaining fluidity, continuity, and protecting the joint. The extensor digitorum, on the other hand, is longer and more visible. It also originates from the lateral epicondyle, divides into 4 tendons, and extends to the distal phalanges of the second through fifth fingers. It allows the fingers to extend, the hand to open, and regulates wrist tension. It, too, is innervated by the radial nerve. Together, these two muscles form a refined extension chain linking elbow, wrist, and hand. When you pull the straps, they translate thought into movement. They are the ones that ensure the continuity of the gesture, the coherence of the arm, the harmony of the motion. To understand the finesse of this exercise, we need to return to the 5 fundamental properties of muscle. Excitability first, the ability of a muscle to receive a chemical message and respond to it. In the body, this spark is called acetylcholine. Released at the neuromuscular junction, it triggers depolarization of the muscle membrane, an electrical current that propagates and initiates contraction. Then, contractility, the ability to generate force. It's what gives a movement its presence, its shape, its tone. But this force must remain measured. In Pilates, power only has meaning when it is fluid, controlled, and conscious. Elasticity allows the muscle to return to its original length after effort. It acts as an internal shock absorber, softens transitions, and brings humanity to movement. Extensibility reminds us that muscle is a living tissue capable of stretching beyond its resting length. It's what allows us to go further without injury. Finally, plasticity, the muscle's memory, its ability to transform according to what we ask of it. The body changes through repetition, becoming more precise, more coherent, more stable. Plasticity is the trace of time within living matter. In Straight Down, breathing plays a central role. It is not an accessory, it is structural. Inhalation creates space, exhalation provides support. We inhale as the arms lift toward the ceiling, we exhale as they press the carriage down. During exhalation, the diaphragm rises, the transverse abdominis engages, intra-abdominal pressure increases, the pelvis stabilizes, and the rib cage softens. Breathing is what connects movement to motor control. When it's right, everything organizes itself. When it's blocked, everything falls apart. The placement of the pelvis is equally essential. In an imprinted position, the lower back is gently in contact with the reformer. This slight posterior tilt activates the deep abdominals and protects the lumbar spine. At a more advanced level, one can work in neutral, leaving a small space under the lumbar spine to enhance proprioception. The pelvis becomes a living center, not rigid, but aware and present. The shoulder blades must remain stable, neither lifting nor rounding forward. Scapular stability is active. It engages the serratus anterior, the rhomboids, and the middle trapezius. This stability prevents compensations in the neck and shoulders. In straight down, scapular stability is not a posture, it is a breath. Changing the position of the hands subtly transforms the mechanics of the movement. In pronation, palms facing down, the forearm extensors and the posterior chain are more engaged. In supination, palms facing up, the interior line opens and the biceps stretches. In a neutral position, palms facing the body, internal and external rotations balance. Each orientation modifies how fibers are recruited, stimulates different sensory receptors, and creates a neurological adaptation. It's an implicit pedagogy. By varying hand positions, we train the brain as much as the body. Motor control here depends entirely on precision. Avoiding elbow hyperextension preserves the continuity of movement and the health of the joint. Avoiding shoulder elevation protects the breath. Pilates is not a fight against gravity, it's a collaboration with it. The goal is never to force, but to adjust. In this work, errors become information, and correction becomes a sensory education. Lateralization gives this exercise its true depth. The left brain governs precision, the right brain governs integration. In straight down, we work to make the two hemispheres communicate. The dominant side seeks strength, the non-dominant side seeks stability. When the two meet, there is balance, fluidity, unity. True symmetry is not perfect resemblance, it is dynamic harmony. Straight down is therefore not simply a workout for the arms, it's an exercise of connection. The practitioner learns to stabilize the pelvis, breathe in rhythm, and mobilize the arms without losing the center. They learn that movement arises from breath, that precision comes from calm, and that power expresses itself through accuracy. What makes this exercise so beautiful is that it links physiology to consciousness. Acetylcholine, nerve impulses, muscular plasticity, coordination between diaphragm and transverse abdominis. All of it ceases to be theory and becomes experience. When movement becomes conscious, science becomes sensation. The excitability of the muscle, its contractility, elasticity, extensibility, and plasticity are no longer abstract concepts. They are sensations. It's what we feel when the arm moves slowly downward, when breath supports the effort, when the spine remains stable and the motion flows. It's that moment when you can feel the body thinking. In straight down, the anconeus, the extensor digitorum, the deep trunk stabilizers, and the scapular muscles work together like instruments in an orchestra. Nothing dominates, everything aligns. The breath is the conductor, the movement is the music. And when everything aligns, when the gesture becomes pure, effort disappears. There is only the right movement, the one that connects the science of the body with the poetry of being alive. And when the movement comes to rest, when the arms gently return to the carriage, what remains is the silence of an aligned body. The breath flows, a feeling of inner balance lingers. Straight down is no longer an exercise, it's an experience of coherence, the experience of a body that no longer seeks perfection, but living precision. Pilates, at that level of awareness, becomes an art of discernment, sensing before acting, understanding before pushing, breathing before moving. Every repetition becomes an active meditation. The breath is the thread, the intention is the direction, stability is the key. And within that stability, there is freedom. That is conscious movement. That is the depth of Pilates. Thank you for listening to Biopilates Deep Dive. Take the time to breathe, to move with intelligence, and to return to that quiet place where movement and thought become one.